Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Kais Alsid, the previously mentioned electrical and electronics engineer, and today's episode is actually an interval before we continue on our path towards KCL and basic introductory engineering circuit analysis, because something interesting has happened. So I'm currently in the process of collecting recommendation letters and transcripts from my university, which is BRAC University. It is one of the best private research universities in the country, located in Mohakhali, Dhaka, as well as Badda Bir Uttam Shakhwat Road. I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but in the next video I will correct myself if I'm incorrect. But anyway, so back to the interesting thing that happened today. So I was in the process of going to a university and inquiring about the advancement in the procedure of getting my transcripts cleared, and this guardian came out of the blue and wanted to talk to me. She was this regular pink colored hijabi middle-aged woman who was concerned about the future of her child, and she asked me if I was from the electrical and electronics engineering department, and I said yes. And she proceeded to ask me regarding the validity of the educators related with the institution, the facilities in the institution, as well as some other questions. So I'm going to go part by part, and I'm going to begin with first talking about what her questions were. The first question was, do the teachers actually have degrees, or do the professors and faculties actually have degrees? Actually a super practical concern, because in the age and day that we live, nothing can be blindly trusted. Everything has to be tested rigorously. The second question was, does the institution have proper facilities like laboratories and all of that? So these were the basic questions, and everything else that came after that was a response to my response. But I'm going to pause it here, and I'm going to go to something that I have consistently found people doing incorrectly. So I applied abroad right out of high school, and I've said this multiple times to multiple people already, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to clear it out. I got accepted to a total of 10 universities in the United States under their aerospace and mechanical engineering programs, as well as applied physics programs. And I also got the opportunity to study zoology under Dhaka University. But I wanted to study engineering, and specifically I wanted to study aerospace engineering, because firstly, my grades in high school, as well as ordinary and advanced levels, I was better in mathematics and STEM, like STEM minus biology. The last time I studied biology before starting university was in the 8th grade, and I got around 83 or 87. I have to check my grade sheet. But basically after that, when I was preparing for my ordinary level examinations, or IGCSEs, better known, I was advised by my parents to not take biology because my grades were more mathematics and physics focused, or chemistry focused, and I wanted to study engineering, as well as I personally did not have an inclination towards, in my personal language, the slimy sciences. Now the reason I'm mentioning that is because since that experience, I have met with multiple individuals who have asked me about advice regarding applying abroad, and most of their queries start with which country should I apply for, or which universities should I apply for. And I was always perplexed, because I honestly never thought like that. when I applied abroad, I applied based on, first of all, the recommendations of my peers who had already applied and had received offers, as well as the programs that I wanted to study. For instance, I knew that I wanted to be related to engineering, so I studied physics. I looked for physics programs, so which is why I applied to some of the physics programs in the United States colleges. I also knew I wanted to specifically study aerospace engineering, but aerospace engineering programs specialized are a tiny portion of all engineering programs. Most of them come with a mechanical portion as well, because aerospace actually involves both mechanical and electrical when you get into it. But that's a topic for another video. For now, the problem I kept consistently coming across in students was that their focus when applying to universities or institutions outside of the nation state of Bangladesh was not at all related to their subjects. It was mostly about which country do you want to go to. And I always felt like that was a flawed way of thinking, because what matters the most is what you're going to learn, how you're going to learn it, who's going to teach it to you, and is the place best suited for your highest learning potential. This is actually one of the more basic reasons why you probably heard throughout the last 2 decades that a lot of people went abroad and got derailed in their pursuit of earning currency. The reason that is because, for example, let's say you want to search for the best fries, but you end up searching for restaurants near me on Google. Google is not going to understand that you're actually looking for French fry stores. Google is going to give you restaurants, and that is going to cause you a lot of problems. Similarly, when instead of focusing on what you want to learn and where you want to learn it and why initially do you even want to get out of the country, you're going to face a lot of problems. And similar question was asked by the parent previously mentioned as to, do you think studying in this university is worth it or not? To which my replies were, firstly, once I got admitted to the institution, I actually did not go and check the transcripts of my faculty members. I went and attended classes, and when I attended classes, I found, in most cases, aptly competent individuals coming in and delivering lectures, and they mostly knew what they were talking about. Some of the complaints that I received frequently throughout my time studying in BRAC University were actually not legitimate complaints regarding faculties. The complaints were mostly about that they are stringent about marking, that they don't make simple or easy questions. And honestly, I know a lot of you are going to hate me for it, but I personally do not like scene questions or suggestions or a faculty who provides marks for the sake of providing marks. I was always one of those students who the rest of the class hated, because I wanted unseen questions. I wanted to be able to test what I learned from textbooks. I wanted to be able to test whether whatever concept was being taught in class is applicable in unforeseeable circumstances, because that's what reality is about. If you're actually going to learn something, when you go to an institution, your purpose is to be able to equip yourself with abilities and capabilities to take on real life problems and challenges and come out on top. But most of us end up confusing capability with marks, and I understand where that comes from, because life becomes difficult when your statement or your report card shows poor marks. especially from countries like ours, where parents send their children to school not to learn but to get a degree or a certificate so that they can come back and get employment somewhere. And I'm not blaming the parents. There is a lot that goes behind that mentality that requires special videos. But the gist is, if your purpose is not learning, no institution is going to be appropriate for you. And going back to the second question from the parent, is the institution properly facilitated or not? I'm going to be honest, when I first started studying electrical and electronics engineering in BRAC University, there was not even one lab dedicated to EEE students. I spent all of my early years in BRAC using the resources or laboratory facilities of the economics department or the law department or the architecture department or the CSE department. It was never specifically EEE departments, laboratories. However, that is no longer the reality. BRAC University has, to the utter gratitude of all of its students, created excellent facilities, both for laboratory classes as well as printing for the electrical and electronics engineering department of BRAC University. So that goes the second answer to the parent. The third part of the questionnaire was, do you think this institution is good for electrical and electronics engineering? To which my answer was, no institution is good for a student who is not self-motivated and curious about the discipline that they want to undertake. Today, the world we live in, almost all theoretical resources necessary for studying absolutely anything is available online. You actually don't need to go to an institution to theoretically master any subject. Like, you can give me anything, starting with medicine all the way up to artificial intelligence or zoology or business, and I'll be able to craft you a syllabus starting with a beginner book all the way up to master to doctoral level. I'll be able to curate an entire roadmap with proper books and materials using nothing more than DuckDuckGo or Google. These are, by the way, search engines, and I can create a video on what search engines are later as well if you want me to do it, like, just so that everything is clear. I want my audience base to interact with me regularly via the comment section. If you want me to stop making videos, tell me so. Trust me when I say this. I am acquainted appropriately and aptly with enough toxicity to be able to take anything you throw at me. So you're welcome to provide your unfiltered and honest opinion in the comment section of my YouTube channel, and I'll welcome it, I'll respond to it. But you have to understand that my decision is going to be data driven. If enough people say continue, I will continue. Anyway, moving back to the previous point, you can master and doctor any subject you want sitting from your bedroom. So my answer was that, and the fact that you only need an institution to, number one, hold you accountable, because it is possible to study anything by yourself, but if you do not have proper accountability mechanisms, then it becomes very difficult to continue in an uncharted and undirected path. It's not for everyone. Trust me when I say this. It is what is possible may not be what is easy. There is a difference. A lot of things are possible, but all of those things are not easy. Some of them are easy, others are moderately difficult, some are incredibly difficult. A few of possible things are highly unlikely. So when you're thinking about studying any scientific discipline by yourself, is definitely possible, but you need accountability mechanisms. And it becomes even easier if you not only have just an accountability mechanism, but you also have a community of people going through the exact same training or education. Because learning anything is only a small portion about memorizing or understanding concepts. It becomes a practice or a discipline when you actively engage with it by applying the concepts that you're learning into actionable projects and discussions with peers and hypothesis testing or opinion testing with a broad group of people or a community of people. So that was my answer to the parent. I also added another thing is that this field, as I previously mentioned, it is a subdivision of applied physics, and this field is constantly evolving. The most cutting edge part of mathematics and applied physics would be artificial intelligence and quantum computers. Quantum computing is something unimaginable to most Bangladeshi people or most of the global population as well, since it was only implemented in 1998, which was 27 years ago, and quantum computers are not commercial concepts yet. You will not find them even in all of the top 500 companies in the world. I think hand-picked 100 institutions across the entire world utilize quantum computers, and they don't utilize it to actively solve consumer problems. They utilize them to solve research problems, specifically quantum computer related research. So it's like building the first home or a hut. So that's the nascent stage at which that technology is. So anyway, this video was about my interaction with a parent who's concerned about her child's academic future. But it was also about creating a guide regarding how to think about choosing a university for high school students. I have already done this for a lot of my students as well, whom I have guided for IGCSEs, IALs, International Baccalaureates, APs, CAIs and CIA examinations. I'm going to repeat it once more for this channel as well. I will probably create a more detailed and internet involved video later on, but for now I just wanted to create a video on the spur of it because I want to keep at least 3 videos a week, and this will be my 3rd video over, like 6th video over the last 2 weeks, but like, that's why I'm creating this video. So we will move forward. The way you want to go forward thinking about a university or a career path is, number one, what do you truly want to study? How do you envision yourself 5 years down the road? How do you envision yourself 2 years down the road? Trust me when I say this, a lot of people don't actually end up creating careers out of what they study, and despite what your parents, peers, or counselors might be saying, there is a lot of room to explore and change directions down the road, down the path. So prioritize your curiosities first, prioritize your competencies second, because trust me when I say this, you may be curious about something, but let's say you lack the necessary competency to pursue it, you're going to end up hating it, even though a part of you loved it. So there's a difference between liking something from afar and being engrossed in it. In my personal experience of studying electrical and electronics engineering, I have questioned my entire reality multiple times, my entire thought process multiple times while finishing this degree. And that is not a nice thing. And the reason, despite may have been other life events involved, but I want you to understand the difference between knowing what you're curious about and knowing what you're competent at. What you're competent at is what comes to you effortlessly, what you have found feedback from the world that, hey, you're really good at it, what is visible in your report cards. What you're curious about is what that voice in your head keeps saying. Never confuse the two. If you confuse the two, you're going to make catastrophic decisions, and that is not going to end up well for you. Okay, I'm not going to say that it's going to be deadly or fatal. I'm saying it's not going to pan out well. The second thing that you need to focus on is finances or feasibility. Let's face it, the world is not fair. All of us are not born with the same financial capacity or capability. Our parents are not equally financially capable. We are not equally capable of finding employment. So you need to take into account what is feasible. You also need to take into account ROI, something called return on investment. So there is an entire procedure of how you can undertake research of the return on investment of any specific degree over the internet. If you want, I can create a video showing you how to do that. But there's a process of doing that. So two things. First of all, how much money do your parents have? How much money are your parents willing to spend on your education? That is of the third most important thing after curiosity and competency, because even if you attend a public university, your parents will need to be able to cover your health care costs, your accommodation, your commute costs. Those things will be there. Okay, your university, even if it lets you study for free, it will not be covering those costs. So they're there. The second part is, let's say your parents have a lot of money, but they don't have money specifically for your education. Let's say they are not willing to spend a lot of money on you to study a specific thing. So that's the difference between your parents' financial capability and capacity for your education. So you would want to check that. The third thing you want to check is physical or mental toll of attending a specific institution. You don't want to attend an institution that is draining, because let's face it, you get educated to live a better life. The whole point of life is not getting an education, despite what everyone in society may be telling. I disagree. And you should focus on your best interests at any point in time in making any decision. Because trust me when I say this, most people out in the world are prioritizing themselves, and you're a biological organism who should also prioritize yourself. So these are the primary things that you need to look for first. Okay? Curiosity, competency, financial capacity, capability, feasibility, physical, emotional, mental toll, somewhere in between, ROI of a degree. Okay? Then you need to choose which country you want to visit, because let's face it, all of us are not born with the same passport. Some of you may be born with a passport that doesn't allow you to attend a specific country. Okay, and like that's an exceptional case, but that happens. Anyway, so this is the hierarchy of priorities that will take you forward in the best possible manner. Not should I go to Canada or US, or should I go to Malaysia? No, that is not how you should think. You may think like that, but it will not end up well for you. You will either end up in a lot of debt, or you will end up in an industry that you chose not to, or you will get stuck in something or another. I have seen people go through terrible experiences when they have thought like that. Again, I would like to disclose that the people who have no choice but to think like that, the scenario is different for them. But most of you who are thinking about applying to institutions or attending institutions are not bound by such limitations. So this video was about that. Please like, share and subscribe, and thank you for your attention, and let me know in the comment section whether you would like me to expand on the topics that I have mentioned in this video that I can create separate videos on. Catch you later.